If you grew up in the 1980s, there's a good chance you remember a time before smartphones, before the internet, and before streaming. It was a world where entertainment looked very different. You couldn't instantly listen to any song ever recorded, watch any movie on demand, or download a video game in seconds. Yet somehow, those limitations made every new piece of technology feel magical. Among all the inventions that defined the decade, three products stood above the rest. The Walkman, VHS, and Atari 2600 didn't just become popular gadgets, they changed the way millions of Americans lived their everyday lives. They transformed how people listened to music, watched movies, and spent their free time. Looking back now, it's hard to imagine just how revolutionary these devices truly were. But for those who experienced them firsthand, they represented the future. Let's start with the Walkman. Today, carrying music wherever you go seems completely normal. Everyone has a smartphone with access to millions of songs. But before the Walkman, music was something that stayed at home. You listened to records on a turntable, played cassettes on a stereo system, or heard songs on the radio. Music wasn't truly portable. Then, in 1979, Sony introduced a small device that seemed almost unbelievable. The Walkman allowed people to carry their favorite music with them wherever they went. By the early 1980s, it had become a cultural phenomenon across America. At first, some people thought the idea was strange. Why would anyone want to walk around wearing headphones in public? It seemed unusual, even antisocial. But once people tried it, everything changed. For the first time, individuals could create a soundtrack for their own lives. Whether they were jogging through a park, riding a bus, mowing the lawn, or simply taking a walk around the neighborhood, they could listen to their favorite artists whenever they wanted. The experience felt personal and revolutionary. Teenagers embraced the Walkman especially quickly. Suddenly, music became more than something shared in a room. It became a private experience. Kids spent hours making mixtapes, carefully selecting songs to record onto blank cassettes. Creating the perfect mixtape became an art form. Some were made for road trips, others were made for parties. Many were created for someone special. Long before playlists existed on streaming services, mixtapes served the same purpose. The Walkman also changed the way people exercised. Before portable music, jogging could feel repetitive and boring. But with headphones on and favorite songs playing, exercise became more enjoyable. Many people who lived through the era still remember running while listening to artists like Michael Jackson, Madonna, or Bruce Springsteen. Music wasn't just background noise anymore. It became a companion. As important as the Walkman was, another invention was transforming family life inside American homes. That invention was VHS. To younger generations, it may be difficult to understand how exciting VHS technology was. Before VHS became widespread, watching a movie wasn't easy. If a film was playing in theaters, you could buy a ticket and see it. If you missed it, you often had to wait months or even years for it to appear on television. When it finally aired, you had to watch it at a specific time. There was no pause button, no rewind, no on-demand viewing. VHS changed all of that. For the first time, ordinary families could own movies and watch them whenever they wanted. It gave people control over entertainment in a way that had never existed before. Suddenly, living rooms became miniature movie theaters. Many Americans still remember their first VCR. These machines were expensive, sometimes costing hundreds of dollars. Parents often treated them as valuable investments. Children were warned not to touch certain buttons. Programming a VCR even became something of a joke because so many adults struggled to set the clock correctly. But despite the challenges, people loved them. One of the biggest reasons was the ability to record television shows. If your favorite program aired while you were at work or school, you could simply record it and watch it later. This concept seems ordinary today, but at the time it felt almost magical. Viewers were no longer tied to television schedules. Then came the video rental boom. Every Friday night, families across America climbed into their cars and headed to video stores. Walking through the aisles became part of the experience. Rows and rows of VHS tapes lined the shelves. Action movies, comedies, horror films, family favorites. There was something for everyone. Children often rushed straight toward the family section, while parents debated which movie to rent. Many people spent more time choosing a movie than actually watching it. The excitement wasn't just about the film itself, it was about the ritual. Eventually, stores like Blockbuster became cultural icons. Their blue and yellow signs could be found all across the country. A trip to Blockbuster became a weekly tradition for millions of households. VHS didn't just change how people watched movies. It changed family routines. It created shared experiences. It gave people more freedom. Perhaps most importantly, it allowed memories to be preserved. Families began recording birthdays, graduations, vacations, and holidays on home video cameras. Today, countless family memories survive because someone pressed record on a VHS camcorder decades ago. While the Walkman revolutionized music and VHS transformed movies, another invention was changing entertainment in an entirely different way. That invention was the Atari 2600. When people think of modern gaming, they imagine incredibly realistic graphics, online multiplayer experiences, and massive virtual worlds. But in the late 1970s and early 1980s, home gaming was still in its infancy. The Atari 2600 changed everything. Before it arrived, most video games were played in arcades. Kids gathered around machines in shopping malls, pizza restaurants, and entertainment centers. Games were exciting, but they required coins and trips away from home. The Atari 2600 brought that excitement into living rooms. For many families, it was the first gaming console they ever owned. Connecting it to the television felt like opening a portal to the future. Suddenly, people could play games whenever they wanted without leaving the house. The graphics were simple by today's standards. The sounds were primitive, yet none of that mattered. What mattered was the experience. Games like Space Invaders, Asteroids, Missile Command, and Pitfall captured the imagination of an entire generation. Kids invited friends over specifically to play Atari. Siblings competed for high scores. Parents often joined in, creating family gaming sessions long before multiplayer gaming became common. The Atari 2600 also helped create an entirely new industry. It proved that people were willing to spend money on home gaming entertainment. Without its success, the gaming landscape we know today might look very different. Of course, the Atari story wasn't perfect. The video game crash of 1983 nearly destroyed the industry. Too many low-quality games flooded the market, and consumer confidence collapsed. Many believed video games were nothing more than a passing fad. But history proved otherwise. The foundation built by Atari eventually paved the way for future giants like Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. Looking back today, what makes the Walkman, VHS, and Atari 2600 so special isn't just their technology, it's what they represented. They arrived during a period when technology still felt exciting and mysterious. Every new invention seemed capable of changing everyday life. Unlike many modern gadgets that evolve gradually, these products created dramatic shifts in behavior almost overnight. The Walkman gave people personal freedom with music. VHS gave families control over entertainment. The Atari 2600 introduced millions to interactive digital worlds. Each one fundamentally changed American culture. What's remarkable is how their influence can still be seen today. Streaming music traces its roots back to the portability popularized by the Walkman. Streaming video services exist because consumers learned through VHS that they wanted to watch content on their own schedule. Modern gaming owes an enormous debt to pioneers like the Atari 2600. Technology has become faster, smaller, and more powerful since the 1980s. Smartphones now combine the functions of dozens of devices into a single object that fits in a pocket. Yet, despite all that progress, many people still look back fondly on these earlier inventions. Maybe it's because they remind us of a simpler time. Maybe it's because they were tied to childhood memories. Or maybe it's because the excitement they generated was genuinely unique. There was something unforgettable about putting on a pair of headphones and hearing your favorite cassette play through a Walkman. There was something magical about browsing a video store on a Friday night, searching for the perfect movie. There was something thrilling about turning on an Atari and watching a television transform into a game. For millions of Americans, these weren't just products, they were milestones. They marked the beginning of a new era and helped define what it meant to grow up in the 1980s.